come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Right here on the SHR Media Network. You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat and it's great to see you back. Fluffy is going to be your bartender tonight. He serves with the best of them. And the lava lamp is indeed lighted, as you can see to my left, your right, which means this precisely. You're listening right now on shrmedia.com. If you want to watch the show, you can do it in two places. You can watch the show on the SHR Media YouTube channel. Go there quick like a bunny. Go to YouTube, enter in the search query SHR Media. Take you right there. Or you can go to the SHR Media Facebook page. Go to Facebook or in your favorite search engine, type in Facebook, SHR Media. Boom, you'll find it. And that's how you can partake of all of this buttery goodness tonight. And wow, do we ever have a show for you? We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask, one simple thing: flush the damn toilet, jiggle the handle if you would please, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, wow. Tonight, do we have a show for you? Now, this was going to be originally on December, I think it was the 21st. We'll get into that particular issue. We have tonight politics and the paranormal, and we were going to have a great guest then, Alan Thomas. Well, guess what? He's here tonight. So tonight, we'll get into why he wasn't there at the time, and that's almost immaterial, but it's a hell of a great story in and of itself. So tonight in the Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, we have politics and the paranormal, as we do in fact welcome Alan Thomas to the saloon. He's the host of the Squatch Zone, and he is formerly of Paranormal Central, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Alan is he's a Sasquatch investigator, he's a Sasquatch researcher and hunter. He knows about UFOs, he knows about the paranormal, Sasquatches, all things that basically are unexplained. And so, with luck, Alan, I'd like to see Alan as a regular guest here on the show. And we can chat about the paranormal on something of a semi-consistent basis. Wow. Already some folks in chat. We got Mike Pasqua. Welcome, Mike. We got Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy who really is very pleasant. We have Art Bell. I want to tell you, we have Art Bell in chat, so listen, that's serious. Hello to Art Bell. Oh, the Ridley Scott Memorial lava lamp is starting to spew its Ridley Scott-like alien contents. See how that's kind of applicable right there? And also we have two viewers. But as I am wont to do these days, I want to make sure that we start out on something of an upbeat kind of thing. And that's why I call this particular segment...
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And it starts out with this. I have to tell you, I did not see this coming. Very interesting. This is from Fox News. 93-year-old World War II vet sworn in as a mayor in a New Jersey town. World War II veteran Vito Perillo wasn't about to let age stop him in his quest to become mayor of Tinton Falls, New Jersey. The 93-year-old wore out 2 pairs of shoes going door to door to hand out 7,500 campaign flyers. His successful grassroots campaign led to the stunning defeat of incumbent Gerald Turning in November. Perillo, a former electronics engineer for the U.S. Department of Defense, a U.S. Navy veteran, and a newcomer to politics, was sworn in on Tuesday. The Bible he used was the one that belonged to his late wife, May, who died in 2013. They had been married for 64 years. Perillo said he didn't think he had a chance of winning, but decided to run following a pair of whistleblower lawsuits involving the police department that cost the borough a reported $1.1 million in settlements. Turning was the borough police chief from 2004 to 2011, and he was the borough administrator from 2010 to 2014. As mayor, the 93-year-old Perillo will oversee a $24 million budget. He's also required to attend 2 monthly mayoral meetings. That's a happy story. Here's another one. Have you noticed a theme in happy stories? It's something like this. A lot of them magically involve Texas, as does this one. Robber locked inside Texas store begs to be released. A Houston robber pleaded and prayed on his knees to be released after quick-thinking employees inside the store he held up locked him inside. The robbery occurred at 11:50 a.m., April 17, 2017, at the Latino Cellular Store in Houston, Texas. Investigators just released the surveillance video, which is why it's coming out now, because the suspect, John Bell, has pled guilty to the crime and is now sentenced to 5 years in prison. During this surveillance video, Bell is shown walking into the Latino Cellular Store. He asks an employee to open the register. She simply answers no and moves towards the door. Other customers and workers leave the store while the employee moves to lock him inside. In the video, Bell was seen pacing back and forth and finally tries to bash in the door to leave. He frantically shoots at the lock and says, "I'm going to jail." Well, that was truly prescient, as he acquired 5 years. Bell then gives up his struggle to bust out of the store and finally decides to pray, to no avail. He begs to be released from the store. He starts knocking on the glass door to be released. Finally, officers arrive and they arrest Bell. And, of course, they say, "Get your hands up and you can get on the ground." Bell was then charged and finally pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. And if you were listening to the Sackheads radio show last night with Sackhead Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads moi, BZ, we were discussing how it's damn cold, mostly in the north and the East Coast and a little bit of the South. And last night in the studio here in the left coast, BZ had to walk over there and turn on the air conditioning because it was a little warm in the studio and we have to function properly. In the meantime, again, if you think strange shite happens in California, well, yes, you'd be correct. But it also occurs in Texas, as we illustrated, and Florida as well. I could not read this to you. This is from, actually, a news story from Twitter. This is the headline. I love it. You will too. Icy iguanas are falling from trees in Florida. Temperatures in Florida dipped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 degrees Celsius, on Thursday, today, causing the immobilization of some green iguanas. Residents are advised to not touch the frozen iguanas as they may feel threatened and bite once they warm up. Now, in the picture here, I wish I could throw this on the screen. There's a picture of an iguana adjacent a swimming pool, and he's in the proverbial tits up position, like, and his little legs are sticking up like that. I don't know. I find that amusing, okay? Anyway, poor iguanas in swimming pools. I had to laugh at that. And then there was this story. By the way, Alan Thomas is going to be calling in at 8:15, so we have a couple more minutes before he calls in. As you well know, This show on the SHR Media Network is about 2 miles from the downtown area. I'm pointing west right now. And west of here, about 2 miles, is the state of California capital, the Bill Mill, which is why I quantify myself as broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied Fornicalia, instead of California, because California fornicates everything that it comes across, as we well know. Well, California isn't quite the only leftist state in the entire United States of America. Oh no, there's also Oregon, and I think it's perfectly adequate. I think it's overdue to let's laugh at Oregonians for just a second, because here's a story from the Washington Post. And I don't know if you knew it or not, but people in Oregon did not have to pump their own gas into their cars. Matter of fact, it was a law. You, by Oregon law, could not pump your own gas. Now, that law has gone away, crafting this headline. I don't even know how. Some Oregonians panic about new self-service gas law. A new law that took effect this week in Oregon will allow residents in rural counties to pump their own gas. A divergence from the state's decades-long history of having attendants pump gas for drivers. I've been to Oregon numerous times. When you go into a gas station, what had to happen is the guy would come out, how many people were in there, the gas station dude would fill them up, and then they'd fill them up, and then they'd fill them up, and then they'd fill them up, and eventually they'd get to you. In the meantime, you yourself could have filled up your own damn car twice and then gone away. Under House Bill 2482, which took effect Monday, retailers in counties with a population of less than 40,000 are allowed to have self-service gas pumps. Drivers in 15 counties can now pump their own gas any time of day, while those in 3 other rural counties can do so after business hours between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. So we don't even trust, Oregonians cannot be trusted to pump their own gas, except in rural counties, which seems kind of odd, and only between certain times. Now, if you live in big cities like Seattle, if you live in big cities like, Medford, there's a big one, you have to wait until the attendant comes out and pumps your fuel. The internet roared, fueled by a local TV station's now viral Facebook post asking people to react to the new law. Some commenters were angry and perturbed by the possibility of having to pump their own gas in the cold, while those from other states scoffed. No shit. I don't even know how to pump my own gas, and I am 62. I'm a native Oregonian. I say, no thanks. I don't like to smell like gasoline. One woman wrote on KTVL's Facebook post, no, disabled, seniors, people with young children in the car need help. Not to mention getting out of your car with transients around and not feeling safe. Wait a minute. Oregon, crime in Oregon? Is going to Oregon like walking around in downtown Compton or Oakland? Hardly at all. That's a very bad idea. Grr, another woman wrote, I've lived in this state all my life, and I refuse to pump my own gas. This is a service only qualified people should perform. I will literally park at the pump and wait until someone pumps my gas. Wait a minute. Okay. Something happened. I think that was Alan calling in. Alan, if you can hear me, call back in. You were halfway there, sir. I could hear it. By the time the law took effect, Oregon had become a virtual laughingstock among social media users who seemed to have visualized an entire state filled with hapless drivers. Fear not, Oregon. I've decided to... Okay, now let's pick it up. All right, there we go. Okay. First, folks. We just got through with happy stories. We can come back to that later. We do now have on the phone Alan Thomas. And I have to tell you, Alan, gird thy loins. I hope you're sitting down. You're going to get a hell of a long introduction. I'm just telling you right off the bat. So we will get to you, I swear to Christ. First, I saw this particular article, and once I saw it and I read it, the first thing I thought of was, I'd like to get Alan Thomas here on the show. This is the article that kind of churned me up a bit. It says, Pentagon admits it ran secret multi-million-dollar UFO program between 2007 and 2012. The Pentagon has admitted it ran a secret program tasked with investigating sightings of unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Although the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program ended 5 years ago, when U.S. defense officials shifted attention and funding to other priorities and other programs, it remains unclear if it continued to investigate sightings of mysterious vehicles. Then after that one, there was, and this guy, if you ever heard, he appeared on Tucker Carlson, and I'm not going to play that for right now. You've probably already heard that. But a pilot video came out of this pilot chasing a UFO, and it said a stunning tic-tac shaped UFO encounter by a U.S. Navy pilot who said it was not of this world. So some of these things started coming out. Okay, so much for that. And then this story came out just about a week ago. And again, this all made me think, holy crap, if there's a dude that knows anything about UFOs, the paranormal, Sasquatches, etc., it's Alan Thomas. And so this story then came out within the past week. And it said this: California led the United States with 490 UFO sightings in 2017. UFO sightings are nothing new. The Puritans themselves reported strange sightings and lights in the sky as early as the 1800s. With the advent of movies about outer space and unidentified flying objects, there were more sightings. There is an entire website dedicated to the collection and dissemination of objective UFO data. The organization curates reports of UFO sightings in the U.S. and Canada via a web form. And here's the deal. This site logged a total of 4,655 sightings in 2017, and 490 of those sightings were in California. What that means is that California is the #1 state for UFO sightings. Now, that said, tonight is certainly a very big first in the Saloon, as he's on the line and will be speaking shortly to an individual who is known for his investment and experience in the paranormal, in UFOs, and his primary interest is in Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And so I'm talking about Alan Thomas, who's now on the phone. Before I bring him in, I'd like to mention a little bit about him. He has over 9 years co-hosting a popular paranormal show, and we'll get to that, and it's given Alan the opportunity to interview hundreds of people who have written books or have their own TV shows or have had encounters with alien abductions, UFO sightings, hauntings, Bigfoot, and much more. Alan has also had many, many hours in the field investigating all kinds of things paranormal, coming with years of experience in a different perspective due to personally having encounters with Bigfoot and other paranormal entities. Now, Alan Thomas has been featured on Monsters and Mysteries in America and Finding Bigfoot, and worked with Nat Geo and their Chasing UFOs team, and has co-hosted a local Fresno paranormal show for 2 seasons. He's also been rebroadcast on Art Bell's Dark Matter radio network. He's been a casino director. He's got an impressive and facile interface with technology, which is something that I sure as hell don't have at all. Everybody knows that I'm the basic techno-Luddite. And Alan, he's skilled at computer, hardware, software, servers, video, television, and he's also been a guest lecturer at Fresno State University. He co-founded the Sanger Paranormal Society, which later transformed into Paranormal Central. And that group came to some prominence when he and Jeffrey Gonzalez had evidence of a Sasquatch face and hands pressed against a vehicle window in 2011 during a Bigfoot trek. It was in 2012 that I actually physically met Alan Thomas, and along with Jeffrey Gonzalez at the SAC UFO Con held at the Crowne Plaza North in Sacramento. They had hauled, I don't know how the hell they did this, they had hauled their entire studio to that event, and then I watched them broadcast the show over the internet. Since then, I've been a phone guest on their show a few times, and I've had the opportunity to speak about the Oath Keepers as well as a few other related topics. I'm sure I've missed absolutely a metric ton of material and background. So with all of that, holy crap, what an introduction. I'd like to welcome Alan Thomas to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Welcome, Alan Thomas.
Man, thank you. That I never heard all that in one place, to tell you the truth.
Well, now...
That was pretty good.
Oh, well, I have to tell you, I customarily ask people this. What of any of that stuff that I said was wrong? I think it's all correct, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Every bit of it. Surprisingly, yeah, it is.
Is it just kind of weird to hear yourself summed up like that?
Yeah, I usually I'll when I get introduced, it'll be a little of this or a little of that, but I never had it laid out like that, and it even impressed me a little bit. It was like, whoa.
Well, that was my point. I have to tell you, it's an absolute honor to have you on the air and in the saloon. But it's like I almost don't know where to start with a man of your CV. But I customarily, when I talk to people, I like to start at the start. And I don't know if you're interested in talking about this, but usually I ask people that I talk to the first time something like, okay, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Well, first I want to say that I feel like it's an honor to be on your show. I've been listening for a while, off and on, I get really busy and sometimes I'll miss, a week or two or three, but then I'll be back and steady listening again. And you're so on topic. It is amazing to me. It's just a joy to hear someone be on topic. Especially when there's so much stuff going on,
Oh, my God, yeah.
all over and then it's really refreshing to hear somebody that does their research, and when you say something, you pretty much take it to the bank, and I like that a lot. I really respect it quite a bit.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. When I speak about things, I like to have attributions for it. I have a blog that I refer to, bloviatingzeppelin.net. And I got a lot of my material. I don't just write stuff that happens to issue forth from my sphinctal area. I actually do some research and some background and whatnot. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. One of the first things I thought of is, because in terms of personally, I really don't know much about you. And I have to tell you, except for some selected items, and of course a ton of stuff about the paranormal, there really isn't a hell of a lot about you, the person, on the internet. So one of the things that I was curious about is, did you ever serve in the military?
No, I never did. I intended to. I actually took the ASVAB and scored really high.
Outstanding.
On it. And then I had them. I found a girl in high school, and I couldn't leave. You know what I mean? Like there was something between me and her. In fact, this December we celebrated 40 years married.
Wait, stop. Okay, did you just say 40 years married?
Yes, yeah, I did. 40 years.
I've seen you personally. I've seen you on the internet. I know what you look like. I've seen you in photographs. I put photographs of you all over the promotional social media that I did. You, let me cut to the chase. You don't look old enough to have been married for 40 years. I'm just being honest.
I get that a lot, too, tell you the truth. And
God.
Then when I tell them, we met in high school and dated like a couple of years in high school, but we raised 6 kids also, and you would think you would have no hair and, or really gray hair after raising that many kids.
You don't.
Yeah. In fact, when I was, like 52, I decided I never had a ponytail. I was always the clean cut, executive in a casino and all this stuff. And now, you have a dress appropriately and,
Right.
all that. And I never had a ponytail, so I wasn't working anymore, and I decided I'm going to grow a ponytail. And just because I can, I know a lot of people that can't.
Yes, or beards, things like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't grow beards, though. The Native American in me doesn't let me have the facial hair or, anything like that. But
Did you attend any colleges, universities, or anything like that? Or did you just get married and boom, you were off to the races?
It was like we got married and I was actually in the painters union. So I had my career already set for me, I thought.
Oh, okay.
And I did very well, got up in, went from apprentice to journeyman. But only that, what I found was I could paint the entire inside of a house and not have any recollection.
Okay.
I would walk out of the house and turn around and walk back in with the people and go over the work, and it was beautiful, and I would be like, dang, I did that, because my mind was always somewhere else. It was like on automatic pilot, just painting, and the rest of the time I was doing something with my brain besides painting. And I didn't realize, I can't keep doing that. I have to do something more cerebral or where I could be there when I'm working, not be somewhere else. So yeah, but I did attend college. In fact, it was kind of later in life, in my 30s, and that's where I got picked up. I didn't graduate. I got picked up right out of college into casino management and became like a manager, but only $8 an hour. It was like a low-level manager. And then within 90 days or something like that, I became the director. And then it was all, the casino sent me to school for the computers, and I held the job as network administrator for several years, and then they fired the food and beverage director. And as a kid, I grew my family owns restaurants everywhere.
Perfect.
So in the summer, that's all I did, and after school was work restaurants. So then I took over the restaurant, the 2 restaurants and 2 bars, and became the food and beverage director for a little while. And then a few times I held all 3 jobs, at the same time. And I really enjoyed it, but I got hurt and medically retired from that. And then it was like I didn't even know what to do. But I had seen the Bigfoot in 1987, and that always stuck with me. So in 2000, after I realized, that I had a new life, the old life is gone, and I can't do that anymore. I started looking, what am I going to do? So, of course, the first thing I started doing was going looking for Bigfoot again.
Hey, Alan, can I stop you right there? We got to take a break. We're going to be gone for a couple of minutes. Folks, you are listening to Alan Thomas, who is, he has a lengthy history in the paranormal, UFOs, all things unexplained. He is a Sasquatch hunter, researcher, investigator. We're going to have a little bit of a break, and folks, we're going to come right back, talk more to Alan. And like I told him when I was talking to him on emails and messages, you know what, Alan, you want to take the entire 2 hours? Dude, they're yours. Folks, hang on. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, You can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct on the SHR Media at shrmedia.com. And we are talking, it is Thursday, by the way. Oh my gosh, the 4th of January, the year of our Lord, 2018. We're talking to Alan Thomas, paranormal researcher who has experience in damn near anything. Somebody on the chat room was saying, by the way, when we're on the break, Alan, he says, oh my God, did he actually see a Bigfoot? And I said in reply, oh boy, has he. And that's one of the big reasons that you're here. Before we get to that, though, the first time anybody appears in the show, one of the things that I customarily ask everybody, and anybody that knows anything about me that's been listening to me for a while knows that in everyone's life, there are what I call pivotal moments, where at one moment your life is going in one direction, and then, boom, it's like you find your life is altered immediately in a way that you had never, ever foreseen. I know what 3 of my very important pivotal moments for me were. What would you say at least one was for you, Alan Thomas?
For me, it was actually having the doctor block the femoral artery in my right leg, and then almost losing the right leg, and then dying on the operating table a couple of times. But only that was like, I actually even refer to it as my old life, like before that happened and then after that happened. Because before that happened, it was a whole different world, you know what I mean? Like a lot of things that everyone does, they don't even think about. Now I have to think about it, to actually even do it. Some of it even just walking, is kind of trippy. But that's my pivotal. And then the very second one after that is my wife, and then the third one is the Bigfoot.
Okay, now, having done a little bit of research on you in whatever I could find on the media, or on the social media, and also on the internet, I discovered that you have CRPS, and I think it's also called RSD. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of the reference that you were making. Can you tell folks what that is?
The RSD, there's two types. Okay, type 1 is where you don't really know how you got it. You know what I mean? Like you could stub your toe or twist your ankle or something like that. Type 2 is when there's an actual damage that you know exactly how it happened. And a lot of I would say 90% of the people that have it usually get wounded in war. You know, like get shot in the hip, or where it'll hit an artery or something like that, and when they put the tourniquet or stop the bleeding, then they actually interrupt the oxygen flow to the nerves, and then it starts killing the nerves, and then that's how you wind up with the RSD, and then it's the worst. I think the highest known pain, to mankind. They actually call it the suicide disease. And it's called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And a lot of doctors don't even know about it. That's kind of the weird part.
So is what you're telling me that you have no idea how you got this at all?
No. The type 1, you don't know how you got it.
Okay.
Type 2, you do. For me, it was no blood oxygen to the nerves in the right leg for 8 days. And so it started killing everything. No oxygen means within minutes things start dying. And after 8 days, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work anymore, And some of it regenerates, but it takes about a year to find out what, how much is going to regenerate and how much is going to be permanent. So the brain damage, it changes your brain and how it relates to the nerve signals, gets them all mixed up.
So how is it that you got that in the first place? Was there any kind of an event that you encountered that all of a sudden that's how you happened to get it? How it happened was there's a history of heart disease in my family. Okay.
So when I turned 42, the doctor said the gold standard to, they can, do all kinds of stuff, but to see if you have, clotted arteries, they have to go inside and look. And that's what they did. They did an angiogram, but then they had a new technology called a collagen plug, and it's all about the money is what it is. If you don't use the collagen plug, it's 50 minutes of direct pressure before they can, see if you're still bleeding or not out of the artery.
Okay.
Because you could bleed out so fast, Well, the collagen plug, they would put that on the artery where the catheter entry site is, and it would melt over the artery, and it would clot over the artery in 15 minutes. So that meant that they could, instead of every 50 minutes, somebody walking out of there, it was every 15 minutes. But I was like one of the first people to be used on, they used that on, and to make sure they used direct pressure with the collagen plug, and they accidentally pushed it into the artery. And then it clogged, right? Clotted. And then nobody knew. I went home, I went to work, and then, a week later, I was losing my leg, literally losing it. And, the rest was history after that, pretty much. Changed everything.
So that's when you went, let's see, if I'm not mistaken, you had surgery for that in 2000. It was on April 1st, and then you said that you basically died on the table. Was that at that time?
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. Died on the table. Actually, even remember where I went. I went.
Where did
I
you
went
go?
to the other side. I found out death doesn't hurt.
Okay.
At all. and you go to this really indescribable place that where you, and you know, I'm like this inquisitive guy. I'm you know, always testing things. So when I got there, there was really nobody around. So I was looking around, and I saw these mountains, and I was, like you were saying, where were you born? I was born in Fresno, California, outside of Yosemite, but I spent all my time in the mountains. So I love the mountains, you know. And I'm in this valley looking at the mountains, and I think to myself, man, you know, one day I'm going to check that out. As soon as I thought that, I was in the mountains. And it was on steroids. I mean, I never smelled mountain smell that beautiful. You know, everything was beautiful, like a million times more than what you experience here. It was, you know, indescribable. There's not words to, you know, say how beautiful it was, you know, really, to describe it. And then I realized I went at the speed of thought, and that intrigued me at that point. You know, and then I was looking at this valley where I started, you know, where I landed, I guess, and I thought, oh no, what if there was somebody waiting for me, you know? And then I'm way over here in the mountains, you know, what am I going to do? So I thought, man, I should have never left. As soon as I thought that, I was standing back in the same place, and there was somebody waiting for me. And they asked me through their mind, they asked me if I was done. You know, and it didn't make sense to me because I hadn't done anything yet, you know. Like, I'm just getting started. I wasn't done, you know. Right. Like, the question didn't make sense. Like, what do you mean, am I done, you know? And that's what I thought, and then they asked me one more time, like, even more, it was almost, like, stern-like. You know, are you done? Like, I don't know, you know. And then one of them says, what about your grandkids? Soon as my mind went to my grandkids, I actually could see everyone that I was thinking about, what they were doing, where they were, what they were saying. I knew everything about what was going on with them. But at the same time, I felt like a suction kind of pull on me. And the next thing I know, I'm slamming back into my body, and I hear the doctors, you know, yelling, stay with us, you know. And then I went out again, and the next thing I know, I'm in, you know, the ICU, you know, waking up after the surgery. And
after you went away and you came back and you got through some of the medical things and you were still in the hospital, for an event like that, what was the first thing that you were thinking? Obviously, this impacted your life, but what was the first thing that you thought, okay, now I see this? What did that tell you, or what did that instruct you?
The first thing I thought of was all the things that you heard about or read about the Bible,
right,
was true. Everything about it, because that some of the things I was thinking when I was in that site, all you have to do is think about something and you know the answer. That's another weird thing that I realized when I was over there was, you know, you could ask a question and then you knew. You know, I mean, there was nothing hidden from you there, so you could know, you know. So that, like, then that changed how I dealt with people, how I even dealt with myself, and a lot of things, because then if that was real, then, you know, I wasn't living right and all that. You know, I was not being the person I should be, you know, or all I could be, or whatever, however you want to, you know, put that. You know, so it changed everything. And then there was one more thing that it changed that really helped in the paranormal world was I was more sensitive.
Bingo.
Like I could know when, like, if I was standing next to somebody that had cancer and they had a short time to live, I knew that they were short timing on life. And even through the TV, I can see someone, and as soon as I see their eyes, I know if they're, close to passing, and other things. Like I know when Bigfoot's around. I know when there's otherworldly things around. Like I sense it way before I see it or feel anything. And it's really a trip.
Did you have a relationship with God before your accident, before you left basically this mortal plane?
Yeah, I did kind of what I thought. Well, I thought I did,
Okay. And how did that change?
It changed to the point where before, I didn't take it totally serious. You know what I mean? I lived kind of worldly, I guess you would say. I think of it as I was a heathen. I thought like a heathen, and I did whatever I wanted. I fed the flesh, or whatever you want to call it. And then afterwards, then it was like it was like I'm going to answer to someone sooner. This life is going to end, and I don't know anyone that's still alive. That everyone has to go. You know what I mean? There's nobody that I ever met that's still here that beat that. You know what I mean? That you're either here or you're not here. And as your life goes on, you get closer and closer to being on the other side. And then I realized, that a lot of the stuff that I was doing, I was going to answer to someone and be held accountable for what I did here. And then it became important to me to find out what it is that we're supposed to do here.
Okay.
And that actually got me into a whole nother, in the paranormal, into a real, it sent me down a real path, down where a lot of people go, but only they're not using God, they're using, anything else, you know what I mean?
So you became basically very attuned. You became sensitive after that, basically 2 near-death experiences. So I can see now where that would lead to an interest in the paranormal. Now, when you started to become interested and, I guess, simultaneously attuned to that, was there any particular aspect of the paranormal that intrigued you first?
Yeah, it would be ghosts, the ghost and stuff like that, because I learned, and a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but it's the truth, and I've researched it and everything as far as I could go. Well, I'm not even done, really. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying that I found that when you die, you don't haunt here. That there is so much to do over there, and then the ability to be able to think about where your family is and what they're doing and know what's going on here, that you don't have to come over here. You can just think about it and you know what's going on here. So there's no haunting or, and I'm not saying that maybe we might not visit, but we're not going to go hang out in some place for 200 years, you know what I mean, and scare people or do whatever, we're not, it's just not, that's not going to happen. There's too much going on the other side, plus you have the knowledge when you're over there that in a short time, all the people that you know and love are going to be with you. You know what I mean? Like, even if they die, they just get there faster, so even that is not a care to you. Are they close to death? Or that actually, I even thought, it would be nice if my wife would pass and we could be here like right now. You know what I mean? Like together over there. And that was even one of my thoughts while I was over there. So it becomes, I started, then that led me to, okay, if we're not coming back over here and hanging out and haunting or whatever you want to call it, what is it?
Yes, exactly.
What are these things that are haunting?
What in your mind then having said what you did, then what do you believe that ghosts and hauntings represent?
They are disembodied spirits that actually lived before the flood, the offspring of Nephilim, or the fallen ones. I guess you would call them the Nephilim.
Okay.
And they have no, because they weren't created by our Creator, they were created by a creation, that's not the Creator. So he never made a place for these things to go to after they pass, right? So, and then, if you read the Bible, he talks about how they're locked onto the earth, and they're just going to and fro, looking to who they can devour, is what it says. And then when you think about it, like, our world is not like the really greatest place, and there's a lot of bad around, and that's what these things thrive on: fear and, anger, rage, jealousy, all that kind of stuff. They feed off of that. So once they attach themselves to a land or a property or a house or a family, then that family starts having problems in almost every area, relationships, finances, health, all that. And it's these things,
The Nephilim were giants, were they not?
Most of them were, but there were some that weren't. They came in all different sizes. Some of the research that I've done, in this past dozen years or so, I found where, some of them, the Titans, they could have been like 2 miles tall. And the average would be around 38 feet of what they find, bones and stuff like that they've found. But if you look around on the internet, you can find larger, way larger things, remains of these things. In fact, if people Google mud fossils, I'm not saying all the mud fossils are real, I'm just saying that some of it is noteworthy and thought-worthy, to something to look at and challenge your paradigm, your boundaries. You know what I mean?
One of the persons in chat asks this question: how about hauntings being parallel universes that are interacting with one another? Is that something that's plausible, do you think?
Totally plausible. I mean, I think everything's connected, I would say, by frequencies, and we can't see the whole light spectrum frequency or all the dimensions. But I think when we pass to the other side, we have that ability to see and hear that. So yeah, and the thing about the ones that are in that, the ones that are there, they have the ability to interact with us and stuff like that. Like when you go in a haunted house and they throw items around and slam doors, do all kinds of stuff. So yeah, total.
We have about 4 minutes left until the top of the hour break. Folks, we are talking to Alan Thomas, who basically, if you've heard the story up to this point, has led an amazing life. But trust me, this is just a portion of it. We're going to touch on a whole lot more. And we're going to take maybe just a bit of a circuitous route on this now, Alan, if we could. How did you first meet up? And I don't know if this is a particularly dicey issue with you, but I want folks to understand your history and where you came from. How is it that you met up with Jeffrey Gonzalez, and who was he?
At the time, I started when I realized that I was just wasting away. I was just sitting in a dark corner in my room, I thought my life was over and all this stuff, and I kind of mourned my old life for like 5 years. Then I started thinking, you know what, I'm going to go do something, you know what I mean? I'm going to go follow my passion of the paranormal, and I'm going to go look for Bigfoot. And I seen a UFO one time, and I want to know about all things paranormal. And somebody told me to look up Jeffrey Gonzalez, and I did. And then I seen where he was meeting at a Sonic's drive-in, and I went over there. And then the rest is history, like we hooked up, and what he couldn't do, I could do, and what I couldn't do, he could do, and we just put our talents together and just went for it, and it was really fun. Real fun.
The first iteration of that, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong, was the Sanger Paranormal
Society.
Society, that's right. Oh, Sanger Paranormal Society, and that's from a place in California called Sanger, California.
Right.
And what did you guys initially do as the Sanger Paranormal Society? We got about one more minute till the break.
Well, really quick, that was his before I even came on the picture.
Oh, okay.
On the scene.
Okay.
And then as I came in, mostly he was just doing ghost, and then he was starting to transition into UFO stuff. He became the state section director for MUFON, which he quit almost right away because we couldn't talk about it.
Really?
Yeah, we get calls all over, and go investigate these UFO sightings and abductions and stuff like that. But we couldn't talk about it, and we wanted to share everything on our video podcast type thing that we were doing, and couldn't. So we decided, he had his own hotline number, and we just put that out there, and we started taking reports other than MUFON, and had a great old time, and learned a lot about what these things are doing, and why they're kinda, why, and a whole bunch of other stuff, that it's amazing and still happening, really.
Folks, we're talking to Alan Thomas, who knows about all things paranormal. He's a UFO investigator. You've been listening. He had his own near-death experience twice. Has an amazing background, an amazing life, an amazing history. We're going to cover a lot more. Hang around. Alan will be right back after this break. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct here on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is The Right Guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The Right Guy on SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it again. Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Just like the last question that you cut a couple seconds. Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Hey, good point. Exactly right.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are in fact listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct on the SHR Media Network. We have been talking to Alan Thomas. He is a paranormal researcher, knows about UFOs, knows about Sasquatch, and it's time to get into some of that stuff right now. We were talking about how he met Jeffrey Gonzalez, and Jeffrey had already begun the Sanger Paranormal Society. And then you guys, you mentioned something, Alan, that I think I picked up the first time that I met you. Jeffrey was doing the show, and you were sitting there, and I remember you saying you had a laptop, you were watching the show on your smartphone, and the first thing I thought was, okay, the dude on the mic is doing the talking. The guy that actually makes all this shite work is sitting right next to me. So, was I right?
Yeah, you're pretty much dead on that one. But only, he learned fast, and we worked together and put all this together, and he seriously wants to be on TV and have his own television show and stuff like that. So he's a quick study, you know what I mean? Like when you want something, usually you'll work very hard to get that, and he does, and I respect him for that.
So you guys then transformed over to, you became Paranormal Central, correct?
Yeah.
And then you guys had a show, an internet show, and it was on, Saturday nights, was it not?
Yeah, we were, I think Sunday night and Saturday night, and then when we were on the Art Bell thing, I think we were Sunday night again, and then we went from like 1 hour to 3 hours to 2 hours back to 3 hours, stuff like that over like 6 years, something like that.
And in that period of time now, that's when you actually, on Channel 31 in Fresno, no, not Channel 31, it was another channel, but I think it was the CW network, you guys were starting to actually be on network television, local network television, were you not?
Right, yeah, we did 3 seasons on the CW, local CW.
And then the stuff that you guys were interested in and were discussing were like what? Or did you just do everything?
Anything paranormal, is not out of the realm, and that includes the Bible and, some religious things. But anything paranormal, absolutely.
So then, you guys, you did anything paranormal. So the first thing that I have to ask you is, now we know that you had 2 near-death experiences. But absent that, though, were you ever personally involved in anything of the paranormal yourself, like a haunting type event, ghosts, anything of that fashion?
Oh, sure. When I first got married, me and my wife moved into a little house, and it wasn't, built around the, 1901 or something like that. And I didn't, at that time, I didn't know, what I know now, but only the back half of the house was haunted completely to where it made you uncomfortable. So we didn't even sleep. We pushed our mattress into the dining room, and we slept in the dining room. We did everything in the front part of the house. And if we had to go to the back part, then we both would go back there, But yeah, lots of times, lots of things. And in fact, once I got into the paranormal and was researching it, I learned a lot of times that I had many experiences and I just didn't know what they were. And everything, hindsight's 20/20 or whatever, however you want to say, So you learn as you go, and then I had many paranormal things happen, and then I understood that they were now, and then I didn't.
Okay. The paranormal, unexplained things like that, UFOs. I regaled folks with a story about how I actually saw a UFO myself in the middle of San Diego on Coronado. Have you yourself seen what you believe to be a UFO?
Yeah, I have on a couple occasions. One is the weirdest one. It was I had a ranch in the hills, and that's where I raised my kids, so that I didn't want to raise them in town, where they would have access to gangs and malls and trouble. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I raised them up in the hills. And one night, they were pretty young, and we were going to have a bonfire, and we stepped outside, and it was the first star I saw, and then I did that little, I can't remember what it is now, it's been so long ago, but, you wish on the first star you
right.
see tonight, And I was doing that, and all the kids are all looking at me and the star, and then all of a sudden the star zigzagged a few times and then shot off, out into space. And that was my first UFO sighting. Was like, whoa, what was that? Like, oh wow, it was interesting. But I'll tell you, like one of the like, just to go a little bit off track,
okay,
just a little, like one of the most weirdest things that I ever saw or ever happened to me happened in the middle of town. And me and a friend were at his mechanic shop, and we're standing outside about dusk, and we see a cigar coming at us, right?
Okay.
And at least both of us think it's a cigar, and my friend is telling me, there's no running lights, there's no wings, what do you think it is, And I don't know, and we're looking at it, and it's coming pretty much straight for us. And as it got closer, then I seen that it did have wings, but they were very thin, like skin. And they looked like dragon wings, and they were black. And whatever this thing was, it was like a furry, humanoid-shaped thing. It wasn't really a cigar. It was a humanoid-looking thing. And it was the size of a Cessna. Okay, like big.
Yeah.
So he ran inside his shop and grabbed a video camera. I ran to my van, which was like 20 feet away, and I carry always carry a backpack with camera, binoculars, all kinds of different stuff that I might need for any, impromptu investigation or whatever, And I had a video camera right there, but I opted to grab the binoculars. I wanted to see what it was, and then I knew he was grabbing a camera. Well, as I ran back, this thing was right over my head now, and it was brown fur, and it had these big red eyes, like velvet looking, and they were probably like 14 inches across, 15 inches, and I got the binoculars up as it went over me, and as I focused in on it, on the head, it had passed by me, and I guess it sensed that I was looking at it, and it actually turned its wings into the wind and kind of slowed down, using the wings to grab the air to slow itself down. And it never flapped its wings. That's what's kind of weird. And then it turned back and looked at me. And my buddy was yelling, "It's looking at you, not me, looking at you," He didn't want it to be looking at him. And then we watched it fly off, and I have no idea to this day what that was, where it came from, what it was doing. And now I looked at the sky all the time. Now I always look at the sky, night, day, that really blew me out of the water, I don't know what it was. My friend calls it mothy, as in short for Mothman.
Okay.
But only I don't know what it was, I don't know. Wings like a dragon, fur like a Bigfoot, eyes like a moth, that's what it basically was. And
so I'm assuming that you believe in extraterrestrial life. You believe that there is life on other planets, not just on Earth.
Oh, sure, probably throughout the whole universe.
Okay. My UFO story was very brief. I was in San Diego. Basically, I was in Coronado, which is a very high military area. Lots of flights. The Navy's all over the place. The Marines have their airfield right next to Lindbergh. I was in the backyard of my brother's house at night, late at night. It was a Thanksgiving dinner. Folks are inside, folks are outside. I looked up to the sky, and there was one particular light that seemed to be brighter than another. I'm an Air Force brat. I grew up, my dad was in the Air Force. He retired a bird colonel. So I was around aircraft all the time. I knew and know all sorts of stuff about aircraft and airframes, etc. I watched this one particular star, then all of a sudden took off in a particular direction, and it exhibited exactly what I call non-ballistic movements. Anything ballistic tends to move according to the laws of gravity. This did not. It went in a straight line. It stopped immediately. It went down a 90-degree angle in a line, and it stopped. It went over in another. It essentially configured a box rapidly, stopped, went up to a diagonal, and not just drifting up there. It was fast. And
right.
it made a couple of other lines, and then it just disappeared. My mouth was open, slack-jawed. I was trying to tell people, did you just see that? And so I honestly believe that I saw a UFO. There's nothing of which I'm aware, unless we've got alien technology now, that could possibly mimic the non-ballistic movements of what it is that I saw. Okay, that's my UFO story for that right now. What I'd like to do, we've got about another 45 minutes to go, and I think we need to move at this point into your specialty, which is the Sasquatch. Your specialty, you're a Sasquatch hunter. Now, just out of curiosity, out of all the things that you've done, the fact that you're sensitive to certain things, what is it that appealed to you about the Sasquatch over everything else?
It was the first thing that I actually saw that upset the apple cart for me.
Okay.
Like everything else you kind of believe in, but I really other than like in Oregon one time on a deer hunt, the year Mount St. Helens blew up, there was a Bigfoot sighting and a UFO sighting in our deer camp. We were deer hunting, and my tent disappeared. The floor was there, but the tent was gone. Yeah, and me and my wife, I woke up and I was looking at the stars and I was like, wow, it's a beautiful night. And then it dawned on me that I shouldn't be seeing the stars. I was in a tent. And I looked around and I'm like, oh man, you know. So me and my wife crawled in my wife's tent. Then the next morning, as we were out hunting, when we came back to camp, somebody in the camp had a 6-foot sighting. They were 6 feet away from a Bigfoot. And when we got back, they were packing and leaving. And we were joking and making fun of them. And then this guy that he walked further than us, he came in and he just started checking stuff in his truck, you know, and we're like, what, did you see a Bigfoot? And laughed at him, you know. And he said, no, I seen a UFO. So that I was always a little bit intrigued. Okay. And then on another deer hunt, me and another friend are sitting there, and we're going to take a hike over a hill, but we're going to do it before the light so that we don't alert the deer. And we're not going to have any lights or anything. We're just going to go over this ridge into the wilderness to this high mountain lake. And as we're sitting there waiting for it just to get light enough to see to walk, I see what I think is a bear. And it's bent over in a bush, and I can see the bush shaking, and it's the first time I had a bear tag also. I mean, I put in for the drawing for the bear tag every year, but I never got one. This year I did. And I actually was carrying a Weatherby 300 Magnum just for the bear, right, in case it was far away and I can knock it down. Well, you know, I'm thinking, I'm going to get my bear, I'm going to get it, you know. Oh, man, I was all excited, and then it stood up, and it was a man. It was like, what in the world, you know, what is that guy doing up there, you know? We had been camped there 9 days. There was nobody around. Like, how did he get there? When did he get there? Why doesn't he have a gun? Why doesn't he have a light? He's just like, what is he doing there? He's totally out of place, you know. And then he started walking down towards us, but he was doing it in like what I call stalking. You know, when you hunt something, you take a few steps and you stop and listen and, you know, look around, and you continue that course, you know. You don't just go stomping down through the woods. Well, he was stalking, and I thought he knew we were in the truck, and I thought it was a person. But then as it got lighter and he was getting closer, almost at the same time, me and my friend are like, hey, that's not a guy, you know. And we were actually having the conversation of, when this guy gets here, we're gonna rip him a new one, because you don't go walking around in the woods in black, you know, out in deer season, and you know, you get your butt shot off, you know what I mean? Like, right. That's not, you don't do that, you know. And we were actually going to chew him out, but then when we realized it wasn't him, it was something, but not a man. And when it realized, I wanted to see it good, and the only thing I had with optics was the rifle with a 6x18 variable scope with a rangefinder, but I couldn't get it in the truck. I couldn't get it lined up where I could look at the face. That's all I wanted to do, is look at the face really good. I could see the body, you know, perfect, but I couldn't see the facial features. So I tried to open the door quietly, but it was an old 68 Ford pickup, and as soon as I hit the handle, it went clunk, and that thing looked over straight at me, you know, and then I was looking at him, and then he took off running, and I jumped out of the truck, dropped my rifle down, but he was moving so fast I couldn't drop. I was afraid to look in the scope. I was afraid if I looked in there and I wasn't looking at him, I would lose him, you know. And when I looked out of the scope, he would be gone, because things happen like that in the woods, you know. You see a deer, now you don't see a deer, you know. Well, this thing was moving so fast and so graceful and so powerful and so ninja-like, it scared the life out of me. And in fact, I didn't go up to the hills for 6 years. I quit hunting completely. Now I only go, after 6 years, I finally decided, you know, it didn't kill me my whole life. maybe, I can go looking for it because I want to see this again, it consumed me completely. And that's actually what got me started looking for Jeffrey, other people, I thought I was the only person that ever saw one until the internet. And then the internet was like, whoa, lots of people seen him, and I wanted to know these people, some of them, and talk to them, and learn more about this thing that was in the woods. And since then, I've had 3 or 4 more sightings and all kinds of encounters I can't even count. And
could you tell us about the event that involved, I can remember at the UFO Con, Jeffrey had brought the pane of the window from the vehicle where he had, I think, the face of a Sasquatch kind of pressed up against it. Did he tell you the circumstances around that, or were you there at the time also?
I was there. In fact, that was the, weirdly enough, or oddly enough, that was our first camp out, where we were going, and we were going looking for Bigfoot, and we found this area that a friend had turned us on to and said, and we went with him even, and it was Memorial Day. He's going to take us to this place where we can encounter Bigfoot. And I was excited, and it was my first time really with these guys, so I had no idea what I was getting into. And then that night, we had the thing was, stomping around the camp and hollering and throwing things and stuff like that. So, I knew I was in the right place and with the right guys, right? And then it started to snow. And this place was really hard to get into without snow and rain. But with snow and rain, we don't know if we're going to get out. And we actually, 2 vehicles couldn't get out. We had to leave them. And so all of us packed into the only 4-wheel drive, and it took us 3 hours to do what took us 15 minutes on a normal day. And we didn't even know if we were going to get out that day. But we got out. And then Jeffrey calls me and says, I left my laptop in my truck, along with, it was an open pickup bed with 5 ice chests in the back with fried chicken and sandwich meat and tri-tip. And,
okay.
Full of food, right? In an open bed pickup truck with all kinds of gear. We had all our, investigative cameras, game cameras, security cameras, you name it, we have it all there. Probably, tens of thousands of dollars of stuff, along with the food. When we get back in there, there's barricades across the road. 3 of them didn't make sense because it looked like a 12-year-old or a 5-year-old did it. And one guy could go with one hand and drag it off the road. But then when we got to where the trucks were, where the vehicles were that we left, there was a telephone pole sized log laying long ways in the road. And there was no way around it because on one side the hill went straight up and then the other side it went down. So you couldn't get around this log. So one guy thought he was just going to move it, and he couldn't even budge it. It was 14 inches around and 15 feet long, big old giant piece of oak. It took 5 guys to get it out of the road, barely, and they tore the road getting it there. But before we moved it, I told them, let me track around it and see if I can figure out what put it there in the first place. No evidence whatsoever. There was no tracks, nothing, no drag marks. Whatever put it there, picked it up and set it right on the crown of the road. So then it was like we got it out of the way and we went over to the truck, and there is a face on the window looking back at us.
And I have seen that. I personally witnessed when you and Jeffrey brought that to the SAC UFO Con. I physically saw that specific pane of glass, and it is impressive. And to me, there's no doubt that's what it is.
Well, we got DNA off of that. Like we had a team. I'm no longer with Jeffrey, but only I still go out on some things. But part of our team, we have a 17-year veteran CSI guy for the Fresno Police Department, and he collects he treats everything like a crime scene. So we don't get it. Once we realize that we have something, everyone backs off. You know what I mean, and get way back,
right,
and keep the scene pristine as possible. And then we bring that guy in. He collected the DNA, he took pictures, he did all this stuff. The very next day he calls, and he is not a believer of, he's more a ghost guy, right? He liked that kind of thing. And he did not believe in Bigfoot. But he's an evidence guy. That's his life, his evidence. That's what he does, And he called up and he tried to match the face on the window to everything known that might be in the mountains: a cow, a mountain lion, a bear, and the only thing that it matched completely with was a gorilla. And he knew there was no gorillas in the mountains, at least in our mountains. And so now, to this day, he believes in Bigfoot. He has not seen one, but the evidence told him there's this gorilla in the mountains, running around, and it left enough evidence for him to believe that, and then we got the DNA also, and it came back mostly human and a little bit unknown, nobody knows what it is, and that happened twice, 2 different tests, and we didn't have the money to go deeper, to do the more deeper tests, to find out more information, because then it was getting into the tens of thousands of dollars to test. We didn't have that.
Folks, we got about 1 more minute to the break. We're talking to Alan Thomas, who is a paranormal researcher and also an expert in terms of Sasquatch, investigator, hunter, researcher, etc. I'm going to talk, when we come back, I happened to see, in doing research for this, 2 particular videos on Netflix. One, okay, I kind of get it. The other one that I saw was absolutely excellent. And I have to tell you, my wife knows if there's a skeptic anywhere in the room, it's me. And I to this day, I believe, yes, that's what I saw, a UFO. Do I know that it was alien in nature? I do not, and I cannot say for sure. But after seeing what I saw on your window, Alan, and after seeing the evidence that was portrayed in the video on Netflix, I have to tell you, I think I've just become a convert. And we'll talk about that and more when we come back. Folks, you were listening to Alan Thomas, and we're on the SHR Media Network. This is the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Please come back.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Good evening. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is featured on the SHR Media Network every Tuesday and Thursday night for 2 hours at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. Whilst manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ continues to radically change the world of leftists, one diaper at a time. Stop balancing your checkbooks. Stop cleaning your fish tanks. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is your magnet for truth, justice, obesity, a darkened studio, and late-night freedom. No United States of America freedoms were abridged in the making of this ad.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, The Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it again. Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll. Like, what are you talking about? Just like the last question that you really cut in a couple seconds. Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Hey, good point. Exactly right.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the final segment on the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct here on the SHR Media Network. You can go to shrmedia.com. You can watch live on Facebook, watch live on YouTube. We've been talking to Alan Thomas, and now I'd like to get to a couple of very specific programs that I watched recently. One that was kind of not so impressive, and the other one, after having watched it, and I really want Alan's input after I talk about this. The first one, Netflix they've got one from 2009 from Nat Geo, and it's called The Truth Behind Bigfoot, and it discusses that 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film where a Sasquatch was seen walking around Bluff Creek in Northern California, west of Mount Shasta. That particular film, the 1967 film, subsequently was cleaned up digitally by a guy named Bill Munns. And he happened to note the really flat-footed and the forward gait, the strange walk of this guy in 1967. Now, another guy named Dr. Jeff Meldrum also weighed in, but he was not absolutely 100% convinced that this was a Bigfoot, per se. But Munns, who cleaned up the film on that, says that he concluded that it was not some guy in a vintage Hollywood suit, and said basically they didn't have the technology in 1967 to make something this accurate, this good. People usually say, where are the bones? Where are the skeletons of Bigfoot? And I think that's a fairly answerable question. So the question to you then, Alan, about this is, in your estimation, is that an actual video or film, I should say, of Bigfoot from 1967?
It's probably the best one that I ever saw. I mean, like in the face, it's identical, or like the closest thing I ever saw to what I saw personally. The only thing different being that it's a female and bigger in the hips. Other than that, it was everything I saw. Exactly. The one I saw was black, dark black, jet black, I guess. But yeah, that's a real thing. It's the real deal. And then the other show are you talking about the Todd Standing one?
Bingo. That just came out in 2017. It features Todd Standing. It's called Discovering Bigfoot. And it also had that guy on again, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and another guy named Dr. John Bindernagel. And after watching that, it's an hour and 50 minutes long. I have to admit, I became convinced of the existence of Bigfoot. I watched Standing's, he had 2006 videos. They're absolutely astoundingly clear. They don't really show the entire full body like the Patterson film does. But as I'm watching this, what he does on this video is he takes Dr. Meldrum out into the field, Todd Standing does, and shows him all of this evidence. And on the video, you get to see and hear it as well. So you hear growls, you see trees broken, you see imprints, you see tracks, you see apples that were set up for Sasquatch. They disappear. There's a huge body on infrared that's captured. That was it. I am, without a doubt, convinced. What do you think of that, Alan Thomas, about Todd Standing's video?
I always, I took a lot of heat from everyone when he first came out with those pictures because, it was too clear. You know what I mean? Like, it was almost too good.
Okay.
So good that how could you fake it? You know what I mean? It is so clear. If there was any fakery, you would see it really well. It would be obvious. So to me, it was obvious that wasn't fake. And everybody else was saying because of how clear it was fake. I looked at the whole thing, like I looked at how he reacts and talks about Bigfoot, and you can tell by a person if they believe it or if they're just, making things up for fame or whatever. He actually, he's going to court to fight for getting these things protected. And
yes.
He has a passion that you don't get unless you've seen one, it's a life-changing thing. And those pictures that he shows, they are really good pictures. And just like everyone else, I don't believe that they all look the same. Like that.
Yeah, you can clearly see that. They're just like you watched. You said the one that you'd seen was black. The Gimlin film, Patterson film, shows that appears to be black as well. There's a darker colored Sasquatch that you can see in here. Then there's another one that appears to be sort of blonde in color. But the thing that I saw, one of the things that I saw about this, Alan, that just absolutely drew me in is the fact that as he's shooting this video, you can see a fly revolving around the head of this thing. And so either someone has some incredible makeup, I don't believe it's fake. I don't believe it's fake. After watching that, and by the way, in chat they're saying that it's called Finding Bigfoot. No, it's called Discovering Bigfoot. If you have Netflix, just search for Bigfoot, and if you see Discovering Bigfoot, and if you see Todd Standing connected to that particular video, that's the one you gotta watch. It's absolutely astounding.
When the fly, that's what got me too. I already thought it was real. I never saw the moving picture, the video. until this documentary. And then it lands on its forehead, and you see the forehead twitch, and it blinks that eye.
Well, he also has video where he's shooting himself in infrared. It comes across as green in IR, and he catches, not purposely, but after examining the film, he shows it again. You can see a hand reach up to a set of apples, 3 apples he calls A, B, and C. And you can see a hand reach up and take the first apple on the right, the middle apple, and the apple to the far left. As he's doing something entirely different. He's not watching what's occurring. He captures that in the background, and then he blows that up. This was one of the most impressive videos that I've ever seen, ever. I'll wager you've met some incredible people on the show and personally. Who were some of the most incredible people that you've met? Because I'm sure you've met a ton of people that, because you're sensitive, the first thing you did when you met whoever they were, you said, that guy, that gal, they are genuine.
Right. Well, I've met, oh man, I can't even count, but only like I've met all the ones that you just named, except I never met Todd Standing, but I've talked with Bill Munn about, I mean, in person too, about the Patterson-Gimlin film. I've talked to the professor, all of them, everyone. I worked with Animal Planet. Not only was on the show, I actually worked in the production end of it, and I wasn't even supposed to be on the show. They didn't know that I had a Bigfoot sighting, so I've hung out with Bobo and Matt Moneymaker and all of them, and then Facebook made it where, you know, I've met a lot of people online, you know, and it's weird. I didn't know that I could sense if somebody was telling me the truth through online or not, you know, through typing, but I can, you know, I can tell. It takes a little longer sometimes, but I can feel if they're legit or not. Like, it's interesting, you know, to me.
Other than the videos that we saw and the Patterson-Gimlin film, is there anything in terms of Sasquatch that stands out in your mind, Alan Thomas, in terms of evidence where you've seen it, watched it, etc.? In other words, what to you is the best evidence possible of the existence of Bigfoot?
The tracks. I know so many people all around the United States that have casted the tracks, and like Cliff Barackman from Finding Bigfoot, he has hundreds of tracks. The professor, I can't remember his name, the one you just named.
Oh, Meldrum?
Meldrum. He has a lot of casts, Bigfoot casts, with the dermal ridges in the cast. And then people have to realize, like a lot of people say, well, it was somebody, you know, carved a foot out of wood and then strapped it to their shoe and then went walking out there, right? Well, there is certain things about Bigfoot tracks that you have to know if you go out in the woods at all. And one is they'll be walking almost in a straight line like a model. You know what I mean? Like 1 foot in front of the other, and when you see your tracks, they'll be offset a little bit.
Okay.
But the Bigfoot tracks will be right one in front of the other. So if you find exceptionally large tracks, and it doesn't have to be real large, I've seen them, you know, like little kid ones, and was like, wow, you know, I didn't know there was baby ones, but there is, and usually the parents will step in its track, or step on the track, or it will step in the parent's track, trying to hide its tracks, right? And so the tracks, when you get out there, you'll find they're going, you know, like that. And then the distance between the tracks is, you can't, like, you just can't step that far. The first one I saw, when it ran away, it ran 200 yards in probably like 4 seconds and got behind a tree and then disappeared like a ninja. And from that time on, I called them Forest Ninja. That's my word for them. Now you see it, now you don't, and they're really good at it. But the tracks were 12 feet apart. And they were in a straight line, but they were 12 feet apart when it was running. And it blew me away because I was looking for the one in the middle, between, there had to be one in the middle, and there wasn't. It was 12 feet. So when the tracks to me are the thing that they're, besides bringing, like, I always tell everybody, I won't shoot one, just to go out and shoot one to prove it. But if one attacks me and I have to defend myself and I wind up shooting one, I will bring a head or a hand or something, I won't bring the whole thing, but because I can't pack 1,000 pounds, but only I'll bring something, back. But I rather not shoot it because I'm afraid of the other ones. You know what I mean? Like, if you shoot one, be aware that they don't run alone. There's like a few of them. So while you're messing around with the one that you can't take your eyes off of that you just shot, be aware that there's some sneaking up on you or running up on you and you're not done yet. You're not safe. You're not out of the woods.
That's the one thing that Todd Standing, that I remembered out of that video that he mentioned, and you can hear the several distinct vocalizations of Big Feet that were around him. He said, there's one guy over here, and there's another guy over here, and there's a big male that's been following me, and he's the least kind of them all, and he's over there. And in the video, you can see that he has a big outline of something really huge next to a tree that he doesn't come close to being as tall of, but it's like the deer effect. You're absolutely right. Basically what he was saying is if you see one deer, expect more. What he was emphasizing is just what you said. If you see one Bigfoot, expect more. Yep. They like at our spot where we got the face on the windows, on a couple of years ago. Now that happened way back, like 2012 or 2011, something like that. A couple of years ago, we were in there and we were setting up our camp, and there was owls, and they were circling our camp, and they were hooting, like owls, and there was like 3 of them, and they were going around and around and around the camp. Well, owls don't do that. They don't circle your camp. They might fly from one position to another position, but they don't, circle the camp for like 2 hours. And then at a certain point, we decided we would mess with the owls, and the owls started to turn into chimps, the sound of chimps. And I actually have recordings of some of this on my YouTube channel. Like, I have 2 real short video clips of actual Bigfoot. They're real short. I didn't take the video. It was our good friend David Ragosa, but he let me put it on my YouTube channel. And then I have a couple of videos where it's only audio only, and I had to edit in order, work on it a little bit so that the people could hear the actual Bigfoot. And one of them is screaming like King Kong. When it first screamed, it was at least a mile away, and you could feel it in your body. And you hear everyone react on the video. You could hear everyone, and mostly it's cussing. Like, what the hell was that? You know. And even worse than that, even after maybe the 6th or 7th scream or roar, and people that have been in the mountains all their life, when they hear that, that isn't anything they ever heard. And if they have heard that, then they heard a Bigfoot. That's what they heard. I'm up in, I have a cabin off of Interstate 80 in the Sierra Nevada mountains. I'm just below Blue Canyon. And
beautiful.
Is that an area that has been known to have Bigfoot sightings?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I used to think that all the Bigfoot were in the mountains only, and it didn't matter where in the mountains that you were. If there's deer, and other animals, then there's Bigfoot too. You just have to know what you're looking for, and you can find them all. Not far from your house, probably. Only now, in the last 3 years, we've been getting reports of them in the valley floor.
Really?
Following the rivers. Yeah, I just got one a week and a half ago that is farther into the valley than I would have ever. It's like I'm where 99. I'm by 99, Highway 99 or Freeway 99. This is halfway between 99 and I-5. So 99 is on the east side of the valley. I-5 is on the west side of the valley, right? And a couple of hour drive, too, or an hour and a half or something like that, where I'm at. This sighting was right in the middle of it almost. And it goes by, and I found, like, if there's creek bottoms, rivers, green areas where they could, and orange, they love citrus. And I don't think they love citrus that they eat the citrus, as I'm sure they do eat it, but that's not their main reason for going in the citrus.
Okay.
I believe the citrus is year-round green, never loses its leaves, and it's the most densest tree, leaf-wise. And they can get into an orange grove, and they could disappear in 2 steps, and you'll never see them again, unless they want to.
If there's one thing that I remembered listening to your show one time, and it was with Jeffrey, but you were mentioning that, hey, if you want to find a Bigfoot, here's how you do it. Get yourself a sack of oranges and hang it in a tree. For whatever reason,
apples.
I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm. Apples especially. Apples. And then there's a little trick you can do, and you could do this probably in your backyard. Because I think that they're around everywhere, and they probably know you and watch you all the time, and I don't mean to scare you or anything. But only you can hang the apples up and only put a slit in the bag, and then take one apple out, take a bite, and then throw the apple, right? And all you're doing is proving that the bag of apples is not poison when you take the bite out of it. You take a bite out of it, and you show it to them, and you munch on that bite and swallow it, and then throw the apple, and then hang that bag up about 8-9 feet up. Well, when they get the apples, and you can hang cameras all around, you will not get pictures of them. For some reason, they can make cameras malfunction. Even if several aiming at each other will all malfunction at the same time. And they'll get the apples, and then when they leave, the cameras start working again perfectly. And I don't understand that yet. But they will grab the bag and then stretch the bag to get the apples out with using their fingers and thumb. So when they stretch that, if you've ever stretched cellophane or bags like an apple bag, it shows your fingerprints on the bag.
Okay.
As you stretch it. It conforms to your finger and it leaves the actual ridges, and that will blow you away. That right there. And anyone can do that when they go camping anytime. I think they're watching all the time. If you camp all the time in the same place, they know you, they watch you grow up or whatever, and they're really close, and you don't know. You won't know unless they want you to know.
I've had a ton of questions in chat. Some of the people have said and asked, is it possible, by the way, we have about 4 minutes left. Is it possible that a Bigfoot is kind of an interdimensional creature of some sort?
I've heard that.
Or do you believe they're more physical in nature?
I think there's more types, than... I think there is the physical one, and then I think there is the interdimensional kind. And for the people that are asking that question, tell them to, or I guess they're listening to me, Google Dr. Matthew Johnson.
Okay.
And it's what we call woo in the Bigfoot field, where it does unexplainable, paranormal, supernatural things. And he has quite a story that will really make you think, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but only it is very captivating. And, it'll teach you, you'll learn a lot from it. So
Folks,
that's Matthew Johnson.
Matthew Johnson. Alan, I got to tell you, you are without a doubt one of the most interesting cats that I have ever spoken to. You are an absolute golden treasure trove of experiences, stories, and events. And it's like I wrote to you, it's too bad that I couldn't get you in the studio because I really enjoy person-to-person, one-on-one interviews. And you're in Fresno, and that's about 3 hours away. But I want to say this to you before we go. Number one, you have an open invitation to appear on the show any damn time that you want. And as a matter of fact, further, I'd like to very much to stay in contact with you. And I'd like to see if perhaps you could give us periodic updates on the show in terms of what you do, what you've been doing. And for that matter, hell, I'd love to go on a Sasquatch hunt with you. So, number one, thank you ever so kindly for being on the show, because it's been literally 37 dump trucks full of fun talking to you tonight. And I want to tell you, that's a lot. I love your ease, your attitude toward life, and I think people can tell, and that's why people like you. And after you told me all the things that you did about you yourself, people can tell that you're the real deal. You are an honest and engaging person who, like Stevie Ray Vaughan saying, you live life by the drop. So before we go, I want you to tell people where you can be found on the internet. Can you tell them about the Squatch Zone? Can you tell them about your social media where folks can contact you? And this is the time to promote the hell out of Alan Thomas.
Well, I don't have a lot yet. Since I broke loose from Paranormal Central and started doing my own thing, I'm doing the Squatch Zone. So all you have to do is in YouTube is Squatch Zone, and then from there I have all the links on there. I have a what do they call it, a patron account, and I just started that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I have one,
Right.
And then the Twitter, and I think that I don't. It's Alien Invader, I think. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find myself. You know what I mean? Like I was Paranormal Central for 8 years or 7 or 8 years, something like that. And now here I am all by my on my own. And now I'm like trying to figure out how I want to proceed. Without stopping. And I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, but only how do I, what names do I want to make things and stuff like that. But the Squatch Zone is going to be the Squatch Zone, and I think I'm going to break it down like inside the Squatch Zone to the UFO zone and the abduction zone and the, ghost zone, and just turn the whole thing into zones, but it'll be the main name will be Squatch Zone. And from there, you pretty much can find me from all that and get a hold of me and everything. And I want to say, man, I had so much fun. I know we're running out of time, but thank you so much for having me on. I love you, man. You're so cool. I've known you a long time, and you're just an upright, good guy, and you're doing a good thing.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I want to stay in contact with you. Literally, from me to you. If you need any help doing anything, fiscal or otherwise, contact me. I'm going to send you my cell phone number when we get through with the show. I want to keep in contact with you. Alan, I had a hot damn rockin' time with you. You are an absolute great guy. I'd love to be on your show. Like I said, if I can help you out in any way, let me know. I hope this is one of many times that we sit down and talk to each other. And again, I'd love to have you back on the show in a recurring fashion. I mean, something cool happens to you. Dude, I want to hear about it. And I want everybody that listens here to hear about it as well.
That sounds good to me, man. I love it. I'll be keeping up with you, and I'm going to make a point of getting into the studio because I love doing that too. And it's even more fun and engaging and everything. I like it like that too.
Absolutely. Wow, this was an amazing 2 hours. First and foremost, thank you, Alan Thomas, for taking 2 hours, 2 massive hours out of your life to talk to everybody.
Didn't even seem like it.
It
felt like 5 minutes.
It did. It
felt like 5 minutes.
It kind of went like, boom, done. I can't even snap my fingers. What the hell? Anyway.
When you said, hey, we're going to a break, I'm like, already? Wow.
Folks, we have been listening to Alan Thomas. He's a paranormal and Sasquatch investigator, an expert, a hunter, researcher. I hope to have him back. It's been one of the most cool interviews I've done probably on this show ever to date, period. End of statement. And trust me, Alan, thank you for being here again, and I will be in contact with you again. And you got to be back on the show again, mister.
Man, thank you, BZ, and I will, for sure.
Thank you ever so kindly, sir. You have a great night. Wow.
And thank you, guys. Find me at Squatch Zone. Bye-bye.
Amazing. That was a great time, and that was a great interview. I got to have him back. I had 24 tabs set out on the Confuser to go into politics and all sorts of crap. Screw it. That was it. I got to have Alan Thomas back, especially when he went places. I got to tell you, he went places I had no idea that he was going to go. Some of the things he's done, some of the experience he's had. Oh my God. I had a great time, and I hope you did too.
Monsieur hasn't walked.
We'll meet again.
Wow. I don't know how to follow that up except to say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's 5 minutes after the hour, and I couldn't care less. Thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show here on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me, you can go to my site, my website, bloviatingzeppelin.net. You can reach me at bz@shrmedia.com. And I'm on Twitter at bzep. I also have a Facebook page. My intro music, Possessed Tranquility, is the same intro music, which is where I found them. That's the music to Paranormal Central, by the way. Promotional consideration by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle 1 refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. Make bank on it. Thank you ever so much for listening tonight. Thanks for listening in podcast. Thanks for interacting in chat. From me to you, hope you had a great time. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night and good luck.